I'd like to welcome everyone to our council planning meeting this evening. The Mayor will allow a maximum of 15 minutes for members of the council to receive questions from registered electors from the town before the formal meeting commences. This meeting may be filmed or recorded. At the start of the meeting, the Mayor will confirm if all or part of the meeting is being filmed or audio recorded. The whole of the meeting will be recorded except where there are confidential or exempt items. If any member of the public has an objection to being filmed, please make yourself known to the Mayor or the Deputy Town Clerk before the start of the meeting. So, have we any questions this evening? I think that's possibly a no. Thank you.
Yep.
So we will start with the agenda item 1, apologies for absence and reasons for absence.
Apologies received from Councillor Chris Williams.
Thank you. Declarations of pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests. Members who have an interest to declare must declare the existence and nature of it at the start of the meeting and act in accordance with the Council's Code of Conduct, S27, Localism Act 2011. Any? No? Item 3, to receive and accept as a true record the minutes of the Town Council planning meeting held on 4th of January.
Can I propose that we accept those minutes, please?
Thank you, Councillor Perkin.
I'll second that.
Councillor Martin, second. Can we all vote on that? I think that's, yeah, thank you.
I'm not sure I can vote actually because I don't think I was there. So sorry.
You weren't there. Okay, we won't count yours. And can we, oh, the schedule, I haven't got that on mine, have I? Number 4, can we accept the planning schedule for the 4th of January? Thank you.
I propose we accept those, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Seconder, and can we all vote? Is it the time of year, well, why we're having a few planning, I think. Right, item 5, to consider and make representation to the relevant authorities on planning applications in the enclosed list dated the 18th of January. And we have number 2050-5803 LBC, the Vicarage, 37 Preston Lane, Faversham, listed building consent for the removal of existing kitchen and damaged quarry floor tiles to create a dining room. Widen the existing aperture and install a new door and frame. Remove existing fire surround and tiles and increase the opening for a range cooker to create a new kitchen. Replace modern pine flooring with reclaimed parquet flooring, internal and external alterations. Are there any comments on that application? All look straightforward. Councillor Irwin?
Yeah, I agree. It all looks very straightforward. I was just going to suggest that maybe we best proceed with no comment. I think the difficulty with these listed building consents is, unless you understand it and understand the thing, it's difficult to comment. But it's certainly, I would have no objections to it. There's nothing in it that looks terribly untoward, but I would suggest the.
I agree. Councillor Perkin was next, I think.
I think Councillor Saunders was first.
Or Councillor Saunders. You're mute. No, you're on mute.
Sorry, I think we should object to this proposal. This is a very special house. I think it's not only listed; it appears in things like the Faversham guide. And what they're proposing to do is to change the layout of the house and significantly change its character. So for the period of house it wouldn't be right to have your kitchen at the front of the house. You should have the dining room towards the front, and they're kind of switching around the use of rooms. And I think for a house of this character, that's not appropriate. So I think we should object to this proposal and ask that they developed different plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Perkin. Yeah.
Yeah, just to come back on Councillor Saunders' point, I was wondering where that would come from, Councillor Saunders, just because the only evidence that I've read about it in terms of its historical importance is from the heritage statement, which has said that the heritage statement says it's not a particular issue, and it's not going to be detrimental to the character of the building. So I was just wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on your point.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Houses of any period have a standard layout, and a house of this period would have had a layout where the kitchen and other kind of back house functions were at the back of the house, and the front of the house would be used for areas like a dining room and a kind of, I don't think they would have called it a lounge, would they, for rooms that were used for entertaining. And what the owners of the house are proposing to do is to change the kind of function and layout of the house, which I think is a bit more than you would expect to happen with a listed building. I mean, I understand that the Faversham Society are expressing similar concerns, that this is just not really in keeping with what you'd expect with a listed building. I mean, if it was, a 20th century house, moving functions around the house isn't an issue, but it's rather different with this listed building.
Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know this building very well. I won't say grew up in it, but half grew up in it because the nature of my family's involvement. The area that they want to make a kitchen was used as a family lounge for most of the time. It was a vicarage, because opposite it were on the right hand side of the main entrance was the study and a drawing room, which was used for meetings and what have you. The other side of the corridor from the door that goes out to the rear. The kitchen is, as what they're proposing here is to put the kitchen and swap the kitchen and dining room round. Now, I'm not going to comment on whether that's right or wrong, but what I am thinking is I can see why that would be a problem in historical sense. But also you have to bear in mind that that same building has about 8 rooms in the attic, which were the servants' quarters, which I don't think servants are using now. But yeah, it's one of those. I can see where you're coming from, Julian, and where the society may be, but I do think it's not it's an internal usage change.
Yeah. Thank you. And Councillor Barker.
Yeah, I mean, I've just had a look on Google Maps, and you do that street view thing where you kind of try and place yourself around the property.
Yeah.
And because of the hedges and trees that surround the property, you can't actually see it from any particular vantage point from the road. And given it's an internal layout, as Councillor Martin said, I'm struggling to really understand any visual impact on anyone, frankly. And you're right, you know, it's a historic building, and those trees and hedges don't have to last there forever, although they have a beauty in their own right. But yeah, I'm struggling to understand the particular impact.
Councillor Saunders.
Can I just respond to Councillor Barker's comment? Because I think there's a difference between a listed house and a house in a conservation area. My understanding, and I will admit that I'm not an expert on this, is in a conservation area, the emphasis is very much on the physical appearance from the outside. And that would be the main prime reason for an objection. With a listed building, I mean, it's about structural changes internally, and they can't just be made. They need planning permission. So I think this is about the structure, the internal structure, and with a listed building that is relevant. But ultimately, obviously, you know, the conservation officer at Swale will make a judgment on this.
Absolutely. Councillor Owen.
Yeah, I was just you know, well, first I was going to agree with Councillor Saunders. Like, you know, in a listed building, everything's listed, all the internal structures listed as well. But just to kind of, you know, try to draw this one together, I can absolutely understand his concerns. I think the difficulty is, and ultimately the conservation officer as well should make a determination. We're not neither approving it or but I think we should certainly make the comments that you know, we express some concern that changing it internally may, you know, impact the nature of the building, and let the conservation officer
decide. I quite agree.
Acceptable.
I quite agree. So, Councillor Martin, you proposed no objection, was it?
No, that wasn't I.
Wasn't
I
you?
don't know. No, I don't know who
Who-
proposed no.
I think
Who
Councillor Owen started with a no objection,
No
Yeah.
objection
but
with
those comments to me aren't a no objection.
To be honest, I'm not that precious about it, because genuinely, I'm not a conservation officer.
No.
Conservation officer
Yeah.
what's approvable and what's not. I could state my opinion on it, but you know, so I would happily go with an objection if
Okay.
it's ultimately
Thank you.
be overruled.
And Councillor Saunders, you wanted to just come in. No, you're not. You're not.
Still muted, Councillor Saunders.
Yeah.
Sorry, I plan not to go on like this for the rest of the evening. Would it be helpful if I proposed that we objected, and then people could decide whether they wanted to support it or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I would propose that we object.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder for that proposal?
I'll second that.
Councillor Owen. And those that will propose, agree to go along with that. 1, 2. Thank you. We leave it to the conservation officers. Right, 2050 5902 full 58 Saxon Road, erection of a rear single storey extension. Any comments? Councillor Saunders.
I think there's no reason to, well, there possibly are reasons to object, in that it might not fit kind of with the kind of general feel of the row, but I think it's quite a small extension, and I think it would be a bit more going beyond where we should go really to object to it. So I would propose no objection.
And Any other comments? Councillor Martin.
I'm happy to second that,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And can we all vote on that? No objection. Thank you. And then lastly, 2050-6049 full Zandweg, Mutton Lane, Ospringe. Erection of a single-storey side extension and loft conversion with pitched dormer windows to front and rear elevations. I think, has anyone got any comments on that? John. Councillor Saunders, I think the parish council met, didn't they? On
Yeah, I mean, this is still in the town council area, but I think it's right on the border.
It is
with Ospringe. I've got two kind of main concerns with this, and I did kind of wander up and on my daily exercise and have a look at it today. I think the scale of the what they're proposing is kind of transforming what is quite a small bungalow into a kind of 4-bedroom house, really. So I think it's quite a massive change. I think also you would expect that there would be a greater need for parking there as well, and it's actually quite a difficult place. It's kind of right opposite where the pallet business is, and the lorries turning in there, and it's heavily used, unfortunately, by parents who drop their kids off at school rather than walking with them. I think it could cause some problems there. I mean, I noticed the Ospringe Parish Council objected aesthetically, but I think I'm not. Yeah, I think the main reason for concern is actually the scale of it and the possible problems that it might cause with parking.
Thank you. Councillor Irwin.
Yeah, I you know, it looks like quite a nice extension, but I do tend to agree with Councillor Saunders. One thing which is quite interesting about the block plan, and Councillor Saunders, maybe you can verify this with me. I walk past it a lot, and I always thought it was a semi-detached, whereas the block plan makes no hint that it's actually one half of essentially one building. Is it a semi?
There's a bungalow right next to it. I have to say, when I was focused on the scale of the building, I think I think it probably is separated.
Detached.
But I couldn't be totally certain. I was just focused when I had a look at it today. It was like that. It looks quite a small bungalow compared to the bungalow next door, which I think is kind of bigger and aesthetically actually is less pleasant than this bungalow, which is kind of fairly anonymous at the moment.
Yeah, because if I recall, planning permission's been granted for an additional dwelling to the, looking at those two bungalows to the right. Part of its garden was sold off, and I'm pretty sure planning. So I tend to agree with you. I think it's going to look really quite strange because there's going to be a third building there. You're going to have essentially, if you tell me they're not connected, that's fine. But essentially, they look very, very similar. And then you're going to have this much larger building on the end. Not that there's anything wrong with having three buildings that look different, but I do share the concerns that it's actually a very narrow road. It is used for parking, but it's also very heavily used by pedestrians as well. I'm concerned that it does represent some level of kind of overdevelopment at that part of Mutton Lane.
So any other comments before we? Oh, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm very much in agreement with the comments that have been made by both Councillor Saunders and Irwin. I think that the nature of this plan is it would increase the size of the building. It would change the aspect of that area from rural to much more urban in many ways. I think it's there's been planning applications made on numerous occasions, to my knowledge, to the land to the east of that property, and I believe there are still some that are due to be determined there, but it's always fallen foul one way or another because of the road access and the nature of the height differences that occur, so potential for flooding and what have you, as well as the fact that there's some disputed footpaths in the area. But I think in this instance, I can't see a reason for us to even say no objection. I think we should object. I think the scale of the proposed development is out of proportion with the nature of the housing in that area. It's even the cottage opposite is hides itself because as a two-story building, although it is 2 stories, it actually hides itself because of the lie of the land, and this would just change that completely. So I think I propose we object on this one.
Thank you. So we've got Councillor Saunders proposing, Councillor Irwin seconding, was it?
No, I think it was it. I think Councillor Martin actually proposed we object.
Thank you.
And
then we all need to vote if no other comments. Yes. We'll object.
Just confirm, who's seconding it?
Councillor Martin.
I thought he was proposing.
No, Councillor Saunders. Or the other way round, yeah.
I'll second it if it makes it easier.
Yeah, we'll have 2 seconds. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and we've seconded, and I think that is the last one for this evening. That's very quick indeed. So thank you very much, everyone, for coming.